This is the exact moment a teenager's life took a sharp, disastrous turn. It's all captured through the cold lens of a body camera. The instant a future full of promise was suddenly thrown into chaos. But the choice that led her to the back of a police car, under the glare of flashing lights, wasn't made right there. It was made hours earlier, in the quiet of her own home, with a simple eye roll and a slammed door. This is a cautionary tale about how one moment of defiance, one refusal to listen, can start a catastrophic chain of events that's nearly impossible to undo. Every parent knows the delicate and often frustrating dance of raising a teenager. It's a time for pushing boundaries, for testing limits. It's that desperate need for independence clashing with the wisdom of experience. For Sarah Miller, a single mother working 2 jobs, that dance had become a daily struggle. Her 17-year-old daughter, Chloe, was a good kid by all accounts. She was bright, witty, and had a full academic scholarship to the state university just waiting for her. She was on the verge of everything she'd ever worked for. But lately, a shadow had fallen over their home. Typical teenage rebellion had started to look like something more concerning, a simmering, constant defiance. Arguments were more frequent, respect was wearing thin, and Sarah felt like she was watching her daughter slip away. This wasn't just about chores or curfews anymore. It was about choices. The friends Chloe was keeping, the parties she was going to. Sarah saw warning signs that Chloe, in her own quest for freedom, simply refused to see. This story, a composite of events that play out in communities everywhere, begins on a seemingly normal Friday night. It started not with a crime, but with a mother's intuition. Sarah had a bad feeling about the party Chloe was getting ready for. It was at a house she didn't know, hosted by people she'd never met. Her request was simple, born from a place of love and a nagging worry she couldn't shake. She had asked Chloe to please stay home, her voice gentle but firm. They could get a pizza, watch a movie, anything, just not this party, not tonight. Chloe, already dressed and halfway out the door, just laughed. It wasn't a mean laugh, but it was dismissive, the kind of laugh that says, "You don't get it, you're overreacting." She turned, and for a split second, Sarah saw the little girl she used to be. But it was gone in an instant, replaced by the cool armor of a teenager who's sure she knows best. "I'll be fine, Mom," Chloe had said, her hand on the doorknob. The words were meant to be reassuring, but they dripped with annoyance. Sarah's voice cracked just a little as she begged her daughter not to go, to just listen to her this one time. That's when it happened. The eye roll. A slow, deliberate, theatrical gesture of contempt. It was an act of defiance more powerful than any shouting match. It was a complete dismissal of her mother's concern, her love, her plea. And then the slam of the door, a sound that echoed through the small house with a shocking finality. Sarah was left standing in the silence, her heart pounding with a fear she couldn't quite name. In that moment, She couldn't have known how right she was to be afraid. She couldn't have known that her daughter, by ignoring that simple plea, had just taken the first step off a cliff. And she couldn't have known that the consequences of that slammed door would soon be documented second by second for the entire world to see. 3 hours later, we're on a quiet, suburban street lined with neat lawns and dark houses. But at the end of the cul-de-sac, one house is a beacon of noise and chaos. Music is spilling out from the open windows, a heavy bass you can feel in the ground. Cars are parked all over the block, some blocking driveways, others halfway on the grass. This is what Officer Davis and Officer Miller saw as they pulled up, their patrol car's headlights cutting through the dark. They weren't responding to a violent crime. The call was for a welfare check, a request that sounds routine but can often be the start of something much more serious. The call was from a frantic mother, Sarah Miller. She'd called the non-emergency line an hour ago, her voice tight with anxiety. But her worry had since boiled over. She'd gotten a text, not from Chloe, but from one of Chloe's friends, a girl who had left the party early. The text was short and terrifying. "Things are getting crazy. Can't find Chloe." So Sarah called 911. She explained that her 17-year-old daughter was at this address, that she was worried for her safety, and that she wasn't picking up her phone. For officers, this is a priority call, a potential missing juvenile in an uncontrolled environment. The body cam footage starts as Officer Davis steps out of the car. He's a veteran, his movements calm and practiced. Speaking into his shoulder mic, he informed dispatch that Unit 7 Adam 15 was on scene at 128 Willow Creek Lane, confirming that they definitely had a party. The officers walk toward the house, their flashlights cutting through the night. The front door is wide open. A couple of teenagers are on the porch steps, buried in their phones, totally oblivious. As the officers got closer, one of them looked up, his eyes widening in surprise before he nudged his friend. Officer Davis greeted them and said they needed to speak to the owner of the house. The teenager, no older than 16, just shrugged. He replied that he didn't know, that it was Kyle's house, and he thought his parents were out of town. Of course they were. It's the classic recipe for disaster. No adults, a house full of teenagers, and, as the officers could now smell, the unmistakable scent of cheap beer and marijuana. The officers step inside and into a scene of pure chaos. The music is deafening. The air is thick and hot. Bodies are packed into the living room, dancing and shouting. Red plastic cups are everywhere. Almost everyone they see is holding one, and many of these kids look way too young to be drinking. This welfare check has now become an investigation into underage drinking. Officer Miller shouted over the music to a boy who stumbled past, asking who was in charge and demanding the music be turned down immediately. The boy just gave him a blank, intoxicated grin before vanishing into the crowd. Realizing they're being ignored, Officer Davis found the stereo and pulled the plug. The sudden, jarring silence is more effective than any siren. A wave of groans and boos rises from the crowd. Heads turn, and for the first time, the 100 or so teenagers in the room realize the police are here. The party is over. Officer Davis's voice now boomed through the room, telling everyone to listen up. The party, he announced, was officially over. He instructed those over 18 that they were free to leave. Anyone under 18 was to find a seat on the floor and wait for instructions while their parents were called. Panic ripples through the room. It's a scramble of whispers, frantic texting, and kids trying to sneak out the back, only to find Officer Miller already there, sending them back inside. Officer Davis then asked the crowd if anyone had seen a 17-year-old named Chloe Miller. He was met with a sea of blank stares. No one knew her. No one's seen her. In a room full of her peers, she's invisible. This is a mother's worst nightmare. Officer Davis got on his radio, informing dispatch that they'd made entry to a large party with underage drinking and would need more units. He added that there was still no sign of the juvenile female, Chloe Miller, and that they were going to start clearing the house room by room. The search begins. The officers move efficiently, their body cams recording the whole scene. They check the kitchen, a disaster of spilled drinks and empty chip bags. They check a downstairs bathroom where two girls are trying to flush something down the toilet. They move upstairs, their flashlights scanning faces, some scared, some defiant, most just drunk. They open a bedroom door at the end of the hall, and there, sitting on the bed, surrounded by a small group of friends, is Chloe Miller. She looks up as the flashlight beam hits her face. There's no fear in her expression, no relief, only annoyance. The same annoyance her mother saw just a few hours ago. The body cam footage is steady as Officer Davis steps into the room. The air is hazy. Chloe is in the center of the frame, a red cup in her hand. She doesn't try to hide it. She takes a slow, deliberate sip, her eyes locked on the officer. It's a silent challenge. "Are you Chloe Miller?" the officer asked. Chloe hesitated, glancing at her friends before sarcastically asking who wanted to know. It's a shockingly bad choice when talking to a police officer who is there to make sure she's safe. Officer Davis's expression didn't change, but his patience, already thin from the chaos downstairs, was clearly being tested. He stated that he was asking and that they were there because her mother had called, worried about her. Chloe scoffed, rolling her eyes and calling her mother dramatic, insisting that she was fine. Two words that couldn't be further from the truth. She was clearly not fine. She's a minor, she's visibly intoxicated, and she's at a party where illegal activity is taking place. Her speech was slightly slurred, her movements a little loose. The officers see this immediately, and a situation like this requires a specific protocol. Officer Davis told her plainly that she was not fine, that she had been drinking, and that she needed to come downstairs with them so they could get her home safely. He said it as a statement, not a request. But Chloe heard it as a suggestion she could simply refuse. She said no, that she wasn't going anywhere and was staying with her friends. Her friends emboldened by her defiance, started murmuring in support. One of them pulled out a phone and started recording. This is another critical turning point. The presence of a camera often fuels these situations. It creates an audience, a need to perform and not back down. Officer Miller stepped forward, his tone a little sharper. He told the boy to put the phone away. Then he turned to Chloe, telling her to understand the situation, that this wasn't a negotiation. He informed her that her mother was on the way and gave her a choice: walk out of the room with them or be escorted out. This was the moment to comply, the moment to de-escalate, to realize the game is over. But Chloe wasn't thinking reasonably. Her judgment was clouded by alcohol and teenage arrogance. She saw this not as a welfare check, but as a personal attack. Standing up, her body language becoming more aggressive, she shouted that they couldn't make her do anything. She insisted she hadn't done anything wrong and that they had no right to be in there. She's parroting lines she's probably heard in movies without understanding the reality. The police have a 911 call for a welfare check on a minor. They don't just have a right, they have a duty to be there. His voice low and steady, a clear sign his patience was gone. Officer Davis gave her a lawful order to stand up and walk out of the room. Now! Chloe looked at her friends, a smirk playing on her lips. She looked back at the officers. And then she made the decision that would change her life forever, challenging them with 2 words: make me. She crossed her arms and planted her feet. It's the ultimate act of defiance, a direct challenge to the officer's authority. For them, this changes everything. This is no longer just about getting a teenager home to her worried mom. Now it's about obstruction and resisting an officer. These aren't minor issues, they're criminal offences. Officer Davis took a step forward. Chloe, don't make this worse. He reached for her arm, gently at first, just trying to guide her. But Chloe reacted instantly, violently. She ripped her arm away, shrieking for him to get his hands off her, and then she shoved him. It's not a hard shove. It won't leave a bruise. But in the eyes of the law, it is an assault on a police officer. The line has been crossed. The body cam shakes as Officer Davis stumbles back, his face a mask of disbelief that quickly hardens into resolve. His voice now completely void of patience, he announced, "Okay, that's it. You're under arrest." The words just hang in the air. You're under arrest. The reality of the situation finally seems to crash down on Chloe. Her defiant smirk vanishes, replaced by wide-eyed shock. Her friends go silent, their phones still recording, now capturing evidence not of a party, but of a potential felony. In a high-pitched panic that wasn't there a second ago, she cried out, asking what they could arrest her for, insisting she didn't do anything. But it's too late. The choice was made the moment she put her hands on an officer. Officer Miller moved in quickly, ordering her to turn around and put her hands behind her back. Chloe instinctively pulled away, crying for them to stop, that they couldn't do this. The officer shouted at her to stop resisting. The body cam footage becomes a blur of motion. The officers, using their training, have her turned around and her hands secured behind her back in handcuffs. The click of the metal is loud and final in the now quiet room. The transformation is devastating. One moment, she was a defiant teenager. The next, she's a criminal suspect, her wrists bound by cold steel. The tears come now, turning into ragged sobs. The fight has completely drained out of her, replaced by a wave of terror and regret. The walk from that bedroom and down the stairs is a walk of shame. The other party-goers, now sitting in the living room, just stare as the officers lead Chloe through. The boy who was filming upstairs is now being questioned by another officer, his phone likely to be taken as evidence. The videos Chloe thought would make her look cool are now potential exhibits in a criminal case against her. As they step out into the cool night air, the flashing red and blue lights illuminate Chloe's tear-streaked face. And standing on the sidewalk, her face a portrait of pure anguish, is Sarah Miller. She had just arrived. She sees her daughter in handcuffs being led to a police car, and a sound escapes her throat, the guttural cry of a mother's heart breaking. From a distance on the body cam, she can be heard crying Chloe's name, asking what happened. Chloe looks up and sees her mother. The full weight of what she has done, of the plea she ignored, hits her like a physical blow. Her sobs become uncontrollable as she cries out that she's sorry. Officer Davis leads Chloe to the back of his patrol car. He is professional, but he's not gentle anymore. She's no longer just a lost kid, she's a prisoner. As Sarah runs towards them, another officer intercepts her. Officer Davis tells her to stay back, that her daughter has been placed under arrest. Sarah pleads with him, asking what for, that it has to be a mistake. She explains that Chloe is a good kid, that she has a scholarship. Officer Davis's voice is flat and procedural. He informs her that Chloe is being arrested for minor in possession of alcohol and resisting arrest with violence. He then adds, "She assaulted an officer." The word assaulted seems to suck the air from Sarah's lungs. The potential for a felony charge hangs between them. This isn't about a night in juvie and a stern lecture anymore. This is about a criminal record. This is about a future being rewritten in the worst possible way. The body cam captures Sarah's face as it crumbles, hope draining away. She looks from the patrol car where her daughter is crying, then back at the officer. She doesn't have to say a word. The look in her eyes says it all. I told her. I begged her to listen. The ride to the juvenile detention centre was silent, except for Chloe's quiet sobs. The bravado was gone. The sarcasm, the defiance, all of it had evaporated, leaving behind a scared 17-year-old confronting the wreckage of her choices. The legal system, after all, is a machine. It doesn't care about your college plans or your good grades. It cares about actions and consequences. And Chloe's actions had set that machine in motion. The initial charges were serious. While minor in possession is a misdemeanor, resisting arrest with violence can be filed as a felony. In many juvenile cases, charges like these might be negotiated down, but the simple fact that she was arrested for a felony was a catastrophic development. The videos her friends took quickly made their way onto social media, creating a digital footprint that cemented the story of her aggression for anyone to see. The life-altering consequences began almost immediately. The university that offered her a full scholarship had a strict conduct clause. Her scholarship was suspended pending the outcome of the legal case. The dream she had worked so hard for was now tangled in a web of court dates and lawyer fees. It's a common myth that juvenile records are always sealed. When a felony arrest is involved, especially one against a law enforcement officer, that's not always the case. And while an official court record might eventually be expunged, the public record of the arrest and the viral videos online created a digital scarlet letter that would follow her. The social fallout was immense. At school, she became that girl, the one who fought a cop. Ultimately, after months of stress and thousands of dollars in legal fees her mother had to borrow, Chloe's lawyer got the felony charge reduced to a misdemeanor. She avoided a felony conviction, but she didn't walk away clean. She was sentenced to a year of probation, 100 hours of community service and mandatory counseling. But the scholarship was lost for good. The university's review committee decided the conduct violation was too severe. The path to her dream school was gone, closed off by one night of bad decisions. The future her mother had sacrificed for, the future Chloe took for granted, was now a much steeper, harder climb. She would still have a future, but it would be one she'd have to rebuild from the ground up, carrying the weight of her record and her regrets. This story is a stark, cautionary tale. Chloe's life wasn't ruined, but it was irrevocably altered. The easy path was gone, the bright future was tarnished, and it all began the moment she decided her mother's warning was an inconvenience. She chose the thrill of a party over the wisdom of a parent who loved her. The bodycam footage doesn't just show an arrest. It shows the precise moment a door of opportunity slammed shut, with a finality far more devastating than the sound of the front door she had slammed just hours before. The events you've heard are a dramatized composite, but they reflect the real consequences that unfold for young people every day. If you find these true story analyses compelling and want more content that explores these critical moments, please consider subscribing to our channel. Click the bell icon to be notified of our latest videos. And don't forget to like this one if it gave you something to think about. In the end, the story of Chloe Miller is a tragedy of preventable consequences. It's about the gap that can open up between a parent's love and a teenager's desire for independence. Every parent tries to build a wall of protection around their child, a wall made of warnings, rules, and wisdom. But that wall is useless if the child on the other side sees it not as a shield, but as a prison. Chloe didn't just ignore her mother. She ignored the protective instinct her mother's plea represented. The resulting body cam footage is a brutal testament to what happens when that protection is cast aside, leaving a young person to face the harsh consequences of the real world, completely alone.